aging actually is the basis of origin of all religions. Because the next step after aging is death. Aging research at some stage was considered to be actually the lowest level research. So I involved not only highest level molecular biology research in aging, but also combining it in a more popular word, holistic, which means for me having sociology, psychology, philosophy, that aging cannot be just limited to that reductionistic molecular biology. That was Peter Medawars, where he said aging is unsolved problem, and they said it's no longer unsolved. That was the great achievement. But people keep saying, oh, aging is not understood. No, it's very well understood. We know why it happens. We know how it happens. Now the nitty-gritty, the major question is, what do we want to do about it?
Hello everyone, welcome to another session of BioPeak Live, a podcast brought to you by Longevity India, where we talk about all things aging and longevity. And today it's a privilege to have Dr. Suresh Rattan with us. Dr. Ratan is actually a Professor Emeritus at Aarhus University at Denmark, and originally an Indian, and he is actually one of the original person who actually started the area of biogerontology for a lot of us. He's been associated with the Journal of Biogerontology forever. And I think people recognize his contributions in many flavors and forms, right from running summer schools in aging and longevity medicine, which is a new catchword, from talking about healthy aging and also talking about the contribution of diet, therapies and traditional food, Hormesis, and you name it. I think Suresh has got his finger in one of the pie everywhere. And I hope it's not a Danish pie, but it can be one. But welcome, Suresh. It's been a wonderful experience to have you here. It's been fantastic talking to you. It's an honor to have you here, and welcome to the BioPeak Live.
Well, so kind of you to invite me here, Deepak. So I have been enjoying this conference time, and I look forward to having some nice chat with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Before we begin, Suresh, this has always been something which bothered me for a longest time. You're an Indian, and you moved to many parts of the world, hopped around, you settled in Denmark. What was your trajectory of your journey? What got you into longevity and do this continent and country hopping?
Well, I can start from the beginning. I am born in the city Amritsar, where there is the pond of immortality.
Oh my God.
Golden Temple is created.
So you don't tell us you started when you were a child.
I was born in the premises of Golden Temple.
So you were born to pick up longevity as a career.
That is my mythological
brilliant
story. So that's the myth about it. But then, of course, like any scientist, you get influenced by chance by certain teachers. So at the university level, where I was doing in Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, so one of the teachers which really impressed me and he trusted me and he gave me freedom was Professor Suraj Prakash Sharma, who had come back from Dallas, Texas after being exposed to the field of aging. So I got impressed by him and anything he was doing. So my first bachelor project research was done with him on insect aging. Then I did master's project also with Suraj Prakash Sharma ji. And then I moved to Delhi to JNU, where I worked with Professor Sivatosh Mukherjee on Hydra, on regeneration.
Something which never dies.
Yeah. And well, that we can discuss whether it dies, because later on one student did a PhD with me on Hydra showing that it ages.
Okay.
So then that trajectory, then I got a Commonwealth Fellowship to go to England to study for my PhD, where I did my PhD on cellular aging with Robin Holliday.
Okay.
Yeah, that man with the Holliday Junction.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was at that time very much involved in aging research. And then I came back to India as per the rules of Commonwealth Fellowship. But there were several job opportunities as a postdoc to go to America. But somehow the politics of that time, they never gave me visa to go to America.
Let's not go worry about that.
Then a professor in Denmark, in Aarhus, they were starting up, Professor Brian Clark, a company and labs on aging. So he learned from Robin Holiday that I was waiting in India for an opportunity. So Brian called me and gave me the absolute responsibility with total freedom to set up aging research in Denmark in 1984. And I liked Denmark so much, I chose to continue there. All my career was developed there, and now I am Professor Emeritus there.
That's wonderful, Suresh. And what I find fascinating is that you probably started working on aging before I was born. That makes me feel very young.
Yes, well.
Right, but it's fascinating, what made you stick to aging? What drove you to not explore other areas? Because you know so little. And we've always scratched the surface of aging in different form and flavor, calorie restriction, insulin signaling, but we're stuck there for a very long time.
Well, because there is so much philosophic aspects to that. This is a question of life and death.
Yes.
Yeah. So this question, when I started learning biology, that we are made with such complicated system, which is much more difficult to make a baby from a single cell, from a zygote, and why the system hasn't been maintained forever, which will be much easier, that why things go wrong. Yeah, so that philosophic part was there, but then working with Robin Holiday, where at that time the error theory was at the top, with Leslie Orgels, and I was one of the first in PhD level to test that error theory experimentally. So cell culture became my model system, and this question of why life fails always continued. So instead of, and then I even coined the term Gerontogenes in 1985 for genes for aging, because that was the time when people were calling oncogenes. So we didn't have a term. But then I spent all my life trying to prove that gerontogenes cannot and do not exist. Yeah. So, but that way, I realized that question of aging, which culminates in death, is such an important human issue, because even my mentor Robin Holiday wrote an article that aging actually is the basis of origin of all religions, because the next step after aging is death.
Yes.
Yeah, and death is very frightening. So those things were somewhere all the time going around. So I involved not only highest level molecular biology research in aging, but also combining it in a more popular word, holistic, which means for me having sociology, psychology, philosophy, that aging cannot be just limited to that reductionistic molecular biology. So I did my part in that part, all my earlier research career, my PhD work, and until 1995 in Denmark, where I was the first one to get actually Danish post-PhD degree, which takes about 10 years. It's called Dr.Suresh in the field of aging. Yeah, that was perhaps at that time world's first in the biology of aging. So after that, when the Hormesis story, if we talk about that, that comes in, which made me more open to many, in a way, total science, not just single target.
So you've grown from molecules to bigger systems, cellular systems of organisms, systems to human.
Yes.
And now you're talking about aging from human to a societal aging to a from a much larger sphere, dimensions of aging, as you rightly said, the philosophy of aging.
Yes.
How has been journey so far? What changes have you seen till now? I mean, has that fundamental rule of aging still stayed the same? Is it still the same what your mentor Holiday proposed? Is it still the Holy Grail? We have changed the lingo, we have changed the language. Where have you seen the changes?
No, actually in 2000 and 2003, both Robin Holiday and Len Hayflick, our father of modern biogerontology, they published a very similarly titled article in one of my books. It's called Aging is No Longer an Unsolved Problem. Yeah, that was Peter Medawur's title from 1950s, where he said aging is unsolved problem, and they said it's no longer unsolved. Yeah, that was the great achievement. But people keep saying, oh, aging is not understood. No, it's very well understood. We know why it happens. We know how it happens. Now the nitty-gritty, the major question is, what do we want to do about it?
Yes.
And in the last 10, 15 years, this part has taken over in a big way. What can we do about it, but why? Yeah, what is the driver for this thing? Is it pure social aspect? that, oh, people go through problems in old age and we are just for the sake of humanity or other, or there is a lot of money in it. Yeah, there are so many reasons why such a tsunami of longevity medicine came, and that is creating both a lot of excitement, enthusiasm, and I really love that enthusiasm, but also this danger that people are going in such a high speed, which is backfiring to the serious scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aging research at some stage was considered to be actually the lowest level research. In mid 90s, I won't take the name of the people who told me, Suresh, do anything, call yourself anything, don't say you are an aging scientist, you will never go. And after 6-10 years, they all started calling themselves also biogerontologists.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So right now, aging became a top subject because of social reasons, political reasons,
Yes.
and also money reasons. All these rich guys who got, and they are terrified of their old age and ultimate death. Yeah, so that's a big, and some of them are taking drastic steps. Yeah, we have all these biohackers known about this. So the aging landscape really changed, where from being treated as all these nutty guys, because everybody has his own ideas. If you take this thing, so aging field was full of nuts. So, but then we were able to slowly sort of, it's a very serious field. How much knowledge has been created from 1960 onwards, when Len Hayflick started the basic observation. So it grew into a very serious, respectable field. The major role in that was the people from cancer research, people like Judy Campisi. They came into the field by their heavy molecular biology technology, which they could apply to this question of why normal cells stop dividing and cancer cells don't. And that really revolutionized the field.
So the whole thought process changed by learning from other fields which got applied to
definitely.
cellular science.
Yes.
And then it actually boomed after
Yes,
that.
Judy Campisi was the great pioneer in that.
And I think one of the main thing which I also felt the interest is largely because we now are slightly well off, more disposable income.
Yes.
Hospitals can keep treating us. We only have to worry about death.
Yes.
And when you're worried about that, you're shit scared. I mean, literally, sorry, pardon my French. You're basically really scared.
But that several years ago in Denmark for schools, the Danish schools, they asked me to write a book in a different kind. So about aging for the 9th grade students. How do I teach these children about aging? So I wrote a book where I give actually E equals GMC square as a formula to live forever. Immortality formula, how to stop death. Yeah, to make a point. And that book is still used. It's now 15 years. Every year, then new students who do their projects and they read that book, then they contact me. So that is the ultimate fear of death, which is one of the major drivers
of aging.
And like in your conference, you are showing everybody wants to live longer, but they don't want to grow old. Why not? What's wrong in growing old?
Because it's negatively connotated. Aging is negatively connotated.
Both physically, but socially even more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where ageism comes in picture.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting. So let's drive out slightly to something which you briefly mentioned earlier, Hormesis.
Yes.
So we talk about Hormesis is a concept you started using extensively with aging.
Yes.
And you've talked about hormetic medicine and everything. And while you touch upon hormetic medicine, we want to hear your views about it. A lot of Japanese cultures, Japanese studies have shown hormesis can be triggered by a lot of factors.
Right.
And I want to also learn from you what exactly your views on hormesis, and would you call rapamycin a hormetic drug?
Yes, if it works on that mTOR pathway, so it immediately becomes a hormetin. Anything which induces or claims to work through hormetic pathways, we call them hormetins. Yeah, because hormetic pathway, if something in the early stages of exposure induces one or more stress response pathways. Yeah, if that is the immediate effect or within a very quick, and then follow-up can happen many things, hundreds of things.
Yeah.
But if it first induces NRF2 or sirtuins or autophagy, there are 7 pathways, that's the first step towards hormesis. So hormesis, yes, in the field of aging, calorie restriction, people were beginning to realize much earlier. Ben Paul, you made that it's only hormesis which explains why calorie restriction works.
Yeah.
But then I was one of the first ones. There were other people also with Drosophila that on human cell culture with a Hayflick system, we showed that repeated mild exposure to mild heat shock, repeated exposure to cell culture, that slowed down many of the so-called symptoms of aging in cell culture.
Yeah.
And then there were at least 20 master's theses and several PhD theses were done in our lab, and we could measure whatever our resources were, whatever we could measure, student thing. So that's where the things started emerging, and a lot of public interest started coming, and that all these nutritional components. But interestingly, that at the commercial level, it was the cosmetic industry who were the pioneers and the first one to use the concept of hormesis, and they involved me to guide them.
So let's ask something very interesting. In your slides, I mean, you talked yesterday, a lot of spices go very well with the hormetic agents, or hormetins, as you say. And if consumed in excess, what does these hormetins do? And one of the main things which I want to ask you is one of the major conundrum in aging community is that if I take X, Y, and Z, when, how much, and when, and how long. So do we have the same conundrums with existing or the hormetins?
Yeah, definitely. That is the biggest question there again, because hormesis is basically mild stress and repeated exposure. So these two concepts, mild stress, mild from whose point of view? Which compound, which cell type? Like I worked with heat shock, with skin fibroblast. Is the same protocol I can apply to muscle cells, to brain cells?
True.
These can be answered, if research is done. And then, like I chose 41 degrees centigrade for 1 hour, 2 times a week. Where is that number coming from?
Exactly.
Okay, for the temperature, I was able to do titration. That because the maximum research on heat shock was done at 42.5 or 43, but you cannot expose cell repeatedly.
True.
They will die. So we did a titration of all the temperatures. But then we chose 41, where it was 30% of the maximum response. But if you ask me why 30, I don't have any scientific answer for that. That was the intuition thing. That's where a little bit of Indian philosophy of everything goes in threes. They are Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. They are Trinity. So actually no, these are the things which I cannot put in scientific research papers.
Yeah, but there's some irrational rational.
Exactly. That's very important, to be irrational, to be intuitive.
Exactly. A lot of intuition is based on irrational things which we think because it's gut feeling, which we largely call it.
And then your other exposed thing about timing. We did work with Drosophila. It was hormetic up till day, for example, 13, the same product. After that, it was killing them. Then the timing and combinations. We had very interesting study. If I give heat shock to cells, I can show hormetic effects. But if after giving heat shock, I give them, and if I do curcumin independently, it was hormetin. So, but then I said, can I combine them? So I gave heat shock first. No, I gave curcumin first, and heat shock later. It gave synergistic effect 4 or 5 times more. But if I did other way around, heat shock first and curcumin later, cells died. Same dose.
Because it's damaging because you're already stressed out.
Again, but one combination, curcumin was always damaging. So that has implications. That if I eat a spicy Indian food and go to exercise, I will get more benefits of exercise than other way around. So after exercise, eating spicy food may not be good for health.
That's a fascinating insight you're
offering. But there are so many questions which need to be answered from individual level to all molecular level. If I had a huge research institute and unlimited number of people, we would have answered it, but I couldn't. I had a small...
So let's ask this question. We always talk about, you said you did extensive experiments with cells, and we have a lot of anecdotal evidence of such hormetic responses from human beings.
Yes.
But again, if I have to generate data which backs our traditional knowledge, basically evidence-based medicine, which is what a lot of Ayurveda talks about, which we lack. And Ayurveda has gone into that gray territory simply because a lot of molecular evidence which we are used to seeing, we don't see it. What model system would you recommend to start with? Because it's always a question that you cannot treat your body like a reduction cells in a culture. You got to use an organism.
No, the evidence in favor of hormesis is basically for human beings exercise.
Yeah.
There is not a single person in the world who does not accept this fact that exercise works. It even beats many drugs. And how does it work? Only by hormetic. Exercise is the worst thing I can do to my body. And if it doesn't do the damage part, free radical production, acid production,
Yes, it does
won't
everything.
work.
Absolutely.
So one doesn't need more proof for the principle of hormesis. That
Now,
hormesis.
again, that's a fantastic point you mentioned, and I really would like to touch upon that. How much exercise is enough?
That is what
Hormesis
a lot
is
of
like-
people are working on that.
Yes.
Governments have to give 30 minutes 5 days a week. No.
Yeah.
I have a general philosophic kind of a explanation. What is hormetic way of life?
Yes.
Because basically our health depends upon 3 nurtures. I don't like to call them pillars of health. One is nutrition, food, and diet. Yeah? So this is 3 words, but they mean different. And then there is physical activity and exercise, and third is the social and mental engagement.
Yes,
These are
yes.
the 3 basic bases of
Pillars.
survival and health. And aging is progressive loss of health because nothing is causing it, but we are unable to maintain it because
yeah.
evolution. That's how evolution has made us. So how do we use hormesis both as a way of life? What will be a hormetic way of life? If you want, I can just
Please, we'd love to hear
there are
about
3 principles of hormetic way of life. First principle is the stress. It's a stress of choice. Hormesis means stress of choice in the case of our species. When I do work with Drosophila, I have no idea whether he likes my stress or not. But in human beings, after a hard, stressful day, we pack up the bag and go to a place and pay money and get more stressed. Exercise is a stress of choice. So stress of choice, the first principle, whether in food or in physical activity or other, it must give you pleasure. And if we eliminate that from the equation, we are on the wrong track. Because hormesis or stress as a good thing, you must have pleasure. There is no good food. There is no bad food. First of all, so food is not a drug, which can be taken even if you hate it. But food must give you pleasure. There are problems with this concept of pleasure. I can be very weirdo that I get pleasure by McDonald's every day. But I know when I eat McDonald's, after 10 minutes, I start feeling guilty.
Yeah.
So we were trying to do this kind of project. How to find out which pleasure is good? So there we came to this temporary or arbitrary thing. We didn't do any research. The pleasure which stays with you for at least 72 hours.
Wow.
If you don't feel guilty about one of your, because normally a healthy mental brain knows where things have gone wrong. Also, but I wanted to go through the kinetics of appearance of guilty molecules.
And what are those molecules?
We wanted to identify. I never
Yes.
got the grant, etc. But a lot of psychologists were interested to join me. That we want to say, what is the appearance and disappearance of, what is sustainable pleasure? So we arbitrarily said, if I can sustain my pleasure for 3 days, then I'm on the right track. Because as a normal, gentle, decent person, if I have done something overdone, like McDonald's example I gave, it takes me about 15 minutes to start beating myself. So pleasure is a very, very important part of hormetic life, which biological sciences had ignored it.
But if you think, well, a lot of people exercise for massive amounts of time. They just
But let me complete the 3
three
principles.
principles,
First,
yes.
the pleasure principle, which applies to food,
Yes.
which applies to physical activity, and to social engagement.
engagement.
Second part of the hormetic, like if you see the hormetic curve is a biphasic curve. Certain level of whatever hormetin is going to be good for you before it becomes
down.
bad. So that is the general principle of life.
yes.
I can kill myself with this water. I won't
Absolutely.
demonstrate it here, but
Thank you.
so
It'll be do a lot of damage to all of us.
like in the cultural Greek philosophy, rather, there were these adages: "What does not kill you makes you stronger." These are well-known things. But Hormesis then says, then the second part after pleasure comes moderation, because that is where the dose comes. That's moderate, and that's again a very difficult question to answer.
Because it varies from individual to
Exactly,
individual.
moderation in level, what level of that stress. So moderation is a concept. Like you don't have to fast too much.
Yes.
Calorie restriction, how much calorie restriction? So basically in public we're saying that don't leave the dining table when you can't even move. Leave it when
Yes.
you are still able to eat a little bit more.
Yeah,
So even-
80%.
exactly. Those giving numbers is again difficult.
Yeah.
But moderation, that
Is the
should
key.
be the principle somewhere. The third most important part of hormetic way of life is variety. Because a lot of things happen
cannot
actually
give the
during
same.
recovery time.
Yes.
Exercise is not good when you are doing it, but exercise is good next day because all these processes have started in the body and they are the ones going to give you any benefits. So pleasure, moderation and variety, this is the crux of, say, hormetic philosophy of life.
Brilliant. So this makes a lot of, I hope for a lot of audience, it makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of people overdo everything. Do a cardio, do a starvation
Yes.
along with cardio. And we see these young guys popping out here and there because of cardiac
Yep.
function failure.
Yes.
So when you say hermetic design of things, we always talk about spices, and that's it's your favorite topic coming
Yes.
from India.
Yeah.
We cannot get rid of spice from our system, which is very nice. I mean, what's your theory on spices?
No, the spices for our, say, Indian society, at some stage we lose their hormetic benefits because we have not control on this variety part.
Yeah.
If I keep eating this turmeric,
Every day.
haldi every day at the thing, so my threshold for hormetic thing,
Is
because
really
hormetic is the cell must interpret it as stress.
Yes.
So if that goes so much high that at that level my food will be horrible. So that means that okay, then I must be able to take pause in between. That once if you are having, say, turmeric and the things like turmeric and doesn't go alone on its own.
Yes.
We are together with the pepper and other. So this finding the way to give certain gaps in between.
Oh, brilliant. So
Yeah.
you're actually telling putting garam masala on food every day is not a great
Yeah,
idea.
not a great idea because your threshold for getting the hormetic benefit,
Is
your
depleted.
taste benefit is there.
Yes.
But if the cells don't interpret it as stress, then you're not getting those benefits.
Oh.
So that is what for some popular magazines in Denmark, they wanted me to make a weekly protocol. What shall we eat on Monday and how to combine these three types of hormetins: physical hormetins, nutritional
some
hormetins, and mental hormetins. So, and I said, but science hasn't answered all the questions. But the journalist says, but we are going to make it. No, they said, our editor says, I said, well, okay, then let me make it because I will have some knowledge to make it. So I created some, but that was for a like Femina magazine or general fashion magazines.
Yes.
But we need this area to be researched, and it's answerable, researchable. We just need more scientists.
So do you think a lot of Ayurvedic concept lies on this hormetins, where there is a combination of a therapeutic agent mixed with a hormetin agent, increasing the physiological recovery phase? As you said, hormetin works on increasing the response and then actually allowing it to recover. And you need a combination of both.
Yeah, that's where
it's like a reception and response. So do you think
no,
that's
I fully agree. But because Ayurvedic system does require this both period of exposure and recovery.
Yes.
Because recovery, that's where you then see resilience and robustness. These two different words. Robustness is how much stress I can take before I collapse permanently.
Yeah.
Resilience is how much stress I can take and then
recover.
come back,
And
how much price, how many scars they are.
Yes.
So these two concepts, Ayurveda definitely believes in that. And I'm not well read on those things, but like ashwagandha, which is so well studied. I have some friends in Japan, this Dr. Renu Vadva and Sunil Kaul. For the last 35 years, they have worked so much on ashwagandha. We know, and primary pathway is hormetic. Although people sometimes feel shy in using new terminology because the popular things is antioxidative and this thicker or anti-inflammatory or other thing. Why is anti-inflammatory? Because if inflammation is the response to give you protection, because after all, inflammation, if I take away all inflammation, I'm dead. Yeah, exactly. So So one of these, ashwagandha is the most studied Ayurvedic compound, which is also being marketed for with various claims and
Variety
other
of
things.
things,
So,
yes.
So Ayurvedic and our natural herbs, etc. There is a lot of information available. People need to reanalyze the data. This Professor Ed Calabrese in the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, he has been analyzing hundreds and hundreds of studies showing that actually all those linear curves, they don't exist. When you
Yes.
really analyze, they all have. So the data are there, but people were ignoring it because steps or the individual values are so small, which according to the statistics, etc., you
Use
expect a
less.
so big effect. That big effect you can never see in hormesis on single exposure. That's like exercise.
True.
Yeah. So these things have been ignored. Radiation is a great hormetic.
Yes,
Yeah?
exposure to sunlight, UV light.
Yeah, all toxicology data shows, and Calabrese has done a wonderful job. He has hundreds of papers there. He even published a obituary to linear threshold curves in Nature about 10 years
That's
ago. That those are dead curves. There is no such things which either goes with a no effect or a threshold based or linear curve. Every curve is hormetic curve. We need to just find, but it's difficult to show.
Because everybody's trajectories and requirements.
That one area, and also the numbers to show that, because the effects are never more than 20 to 30% of stimulation of something or inhibition of something. But whereas biology deals with 1-fold, 2-fold, 3-fold, 5-fold changes must be shown. Yeah. But those things are changing now, that people do realize that, okay, we have to do it repeatedly. So
the concept, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
that is the
What
extreme
doesn't kill
situation.
you also makes you older.
Say it again.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yes.
But we can reframe what doesn't kill you makes you older.
Makes you live longer or older?
Older.
Okay, so with all the negative parts
All
of
the positive effect.
Okay, yes.
Yes, because if you're not dying young then.
Yes.
That's interesting. So, I mean, you've touched so many different aspects of longevity and aging. What if suddenly somebody decides to give you that unlimited resource and money?
Yes.
I know you might say it's too late for me. I don't want to do it anymore. But what would you like to do in aging and longevity if given a chance?
Well, first of all, having this individual, because in that article of my 7 knowledge gaps, the biggest problem with the aging field is this heterogeneity.
Yes.
Yeah. Heterogeneity from molecular level to cell level, tissue level, individual level. We still don't know how to handle that situation.
Yes, we don't even know how you and I are different.
Exactly. And then even in this, whatever things you measure with age, how much I need to treat it, like DNA repair, such a hot area.
Yes.
DNA damage accumulates from 1 in a million 8-hydroxyguanosine in young cells to 5 in a million.
Yes.
5 times increase. So how much I need to revert it from 5 to 3? Do I become equally young? We have no idea.
We have no idea.
Yeah, that's a
Absolutely.
big knowledge gap. What is the relevance? Which level of because biology is full of adaptation, compensation, bypassing. When you do one thing, you touch on rapamycin.
Your word sounds music to me because a lot of times I tell people, even though I'm a pure scientist and I shouldn't be saying it, but I find it fascinating that once you generate a knockout animal, it's already learned to live with the absence of that gene.
Right, exactly.
It's already rewired, it's already reprogrammed.
yep.
Now, learning from that is going to be very different from targeting that gene when it is functional.
Right. Yeah.
And this genetic screen, they are very powerful, but they also could be very misleading.
Yeah, because you deal with
by
extreme.
the time you actually end up getting that organism
Yes.
which is missing that gene or a cell line which is missing the gene, rewiring has happened. Systems are learned to adapt.
Yeah, because we totally ignore the basic principles of life, how the system. There in the metabolic chart, you touch on one point, that
Everything
far
gets
away,
hit,
everything, And if we think that we can look
Entanglement.
into this target and things will work, that's why those 259 geroprotectors, none of them work.
Yeah.
It's okay to do fascinating experiments, beautiful data, but don't please oversell it. I wrote a paper a few years ago, naive extrapolations and simplification, that is doing more damage because then public finds
starts
out.
catching on to it.
Yeah, they find out that actually there is nothing happening. Then they say these are telling lies. So we scientists have to be a bit more humble and self-controlled. But that is the bad side of modern tsunami, where they are promising too much and things will
I
not
guess there's
work
no
out.
other way we can sell the story because there's no other way we can get the money to do what we're doing. So it's a catch-22. So great. So I've got just a bunch of few more rapid-fire questions for
Yes,
you.
okay.
You heard about so many aging clocks, from Harvard's clock,
Yep.
Dunedin clock, and Grimm age and this age. What's your favorite one and why? And you believe in none?
Well, the whole concept of clock doesn't appeal me, because what is it measuring? Yeah, they use the word clock as if there is a fixed time span.
Yes.
Yeah,
My favorite theory is if there are too many clocks and all of them are showing a wrong time, different time.
exactly.
They're all
That's what Brian
they're
and
all-
the other guys were talking in your
Yes.
conference. Yeah.
Yes.
So clocks are, we have a chronological clock, follow that.
Yeah.
That has much more information. Biological clock doesn't have this linear direction.
True.
Like yesterday also Brian talked about that. Biological clock is going forward, backward. Conditions all the time. So this measuring is a very nice gimmick.
It's a product.
Because we want simple solutions.
Yeah.
We want simple solution because we believe in the philosophy. That's why our life philosophy also is a simple solution. Okay, some creator is there. If we accept that it's actually a mess, there is no such thing as a chance, that's more difficult to accept. So in the field of aging, that's what anti-aging was, that there is an enemy. So maybe theoretically,
Kill it.
yeah, theoretically at least it should be possible to
Yeah,
kill it.
yeah.
But when you find out that actually there is no enemy in the body is trying
That's a
to...
fantastic thought because I always use that argument. Humanity has survived by killing.
Yes.
It's killed others, animals. It killed other human beings. We have fought wars. We've killed the bacteria. We've killed the virus. We killed the protozoa. We killed the cancer. We've all been hell-bent on killing everything.
Yeah.
Now suddenly we are saying, don't kill.
Yeah, sure.
You've got to figure out how not to kill things and change
Yeah.
the mindset. So it's going to take a little bit of adjustment
Right.
of mentality.
Yeah, that's why I was using the term. Normally, we say drugs against this problem, but drug for health. What is a drug which promotes a health? Like exercise is a
Yes,
drug
yes,
for
yes,
health.
yes,
It's
yes.
a hormetin drug for health. But that thing has to go into the minds of scientists, researchers, psychologists, medical doctors,
So we need to
and
change
general
our narrative.
public.
We need to change our narrative.
Yeah, we have to change our narrative and
yes.
to sell health. Why should I be healthy? You
Okay.
have to convince me.
This is fantastic point. Give me 5 hormetins which a layperson should actually try without burning the guts out.
Because there are 3 major categories of hormetin: physical, mental, and nutritional.
Nutritional,
So
yes.
in the physical one, of course, there is physical exercise.
Yes.
There is hot and cold water therapy. There are data
Brilliant.
sauna and the cold
Yes.
water thing. Even low doses of radiation. That's the physical hormetins which
You
can
mean
be
just,
used.
Sunlight.
Yeah, sunlight or even under something. But again, somebody has to show that
they work.
that is inducing hormesis.
Yes.
Yeah? So how to find, like the sauna. Sauna data are coming that you start producing heat shock proteins.
Proteins, yes.
And the same proteins which come by physical exercise. So in the physical hormetin categories will be that example.
Okay.
In mental hormetin categories will be meditation. That's a paradoxical. Actually, whenever
It
people have
comes.
studied during meditation or focused attention, there are same stress proteins coming which are coming while you are jumping around in the gym.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
These studies are done in Japan and in Australia, and then people who are regular practitioners of like a rate of what is called the art of living practice here
Yes,
in
yes.
they are going around with higher levels of HSP 70 and 90 than general population.
Brilliant.
Monks with experience long term. So meditation is actually a hormetin. Then
Brilliant.
all these mental activities, Sudoku, chess, reading books, we are trying to develop technologies for how to exercise your brain. Yeah, like something is, can you read 1 page of a book in the mirror?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, these kind of things need to be developed, and we can create exercises on that. And I think there are lots of apps also coming
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Then comes the nutrition-based things. What should we take in the food? Definitely using spices with the formula of pleasure,
Skip
moderation, and
yes.
the variation, and which you also like it, because I
Pleasure
cannot
has to be-
convince somebody to eat this spice where that is hormetically good if they are suffering
Terrible.
from the taste or other problems. Yeah. So, and same thing about the so-called intermittent fasting or calorie restriction, because that is our modern time luxury. Yeah. In evolution, that situation was never there, that we needed to fast. We were struggling to find food. This is the modern life that we have access to food, so that's why choosing to give certain gap whether in time. So there, like I don't give that lecture in India about people where they're still trying to get enough nutrition.
Yes,
Yeah?
exactly.
Yeah. So, but there is that, okay, you need to have certain basic scientific levels of healthy nutrition. But within nutrition, doing this spice combination, variation, being open to other things, social management, then one of the hormetins for our social interactions. They are actually hormetic. It's not easy to socialize. It creates.
But what about hypersocial people, like social influencers?
Well,
they lost the Hormetin curve, right?
Yes, they have. Well, because they live on that drive, not that they need to
They
have
become
that.
addicted.
Yeah, they are hyper. But even other way around, that not being social, if you like it, solitude is a beautiful health promoting stuff. But if you like solitude, but if I
It's
don't,
all about burning on the three levels, which you said about pleasure,
Yes.
variety, and
exactly.
quantity.
So that is the hormetic way of life. I
Yes.
hope within 1 or 2 years I will come out with a popular book where I have
Yes,
so
that'll be
many
really- we're looking
scientific
forward
books.
to it, yes.
Yeah, that some publishers always keep out, but somehow I haven't got into that my mood to write a popular book.
I
on
think it's a
that
good
theory.
time to get into mood now.
Well, maybe you can
I think
inspire me
love,
to
love
do
to
that.
work with you on this, because I think traditional knowledge or traditional wisdom talks about a lot of these things in various different flavors. Changes in weather should bring about change in food habits, and how the hormetic responses of changes spices is necessary with change in weather. We always talk about hormetic effect of spices linked to weather trajectories.
Yeah.
We do not consider that aspect, but it's always been there, ingrained into Indian culture for a long time. And also a lot of old cultures have this thing built into
Yes.
the guise of religion and
whichever pathway
habits
these,
or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, but the important, like in the meeting today, also one person, I think that Dr. Lal or other, they were mentioning about this going to the grassroots level, changing our mindset.
Yes.
And in the field of aging, we have to come out from this mode of anti-aging, hating aging, war against aging.
We got to endorse it with happy.
Yeah, so there in my lectures, public lectures, we have come to that, okay, there are three basic requirements. One is acknowledge that, yes, because in the lecture I say becoming old
Should
is
not be bad.
a privilege,
Yes.
not a birthright.
That you have not died young.
No, not only because evolution never wanted me to become old.
Yes, yes.
It doesn't care. It's our own achievement that we are becoming old. So be happy when you are
Older.
whatever older. It's a privilege, not a birthright.
Yes.
Then second comes, so that is first basically acknowledging. Yeah. Then accepting, not getting into denial part. And then the third is exploring or challenging. So these are the lifestyle ideas.
Acknowledge,
So-
expect,
yeah,
accept,
acknowledge, accept, and
explore.
explore. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So these are at whatever ages you need to use technology, medicine, all help. It's nothing to do with
But
that.
you got to accept these three.
But start with that, and don't worry about the immortality. You are immortal actually, because there is no program to kill you. We are all immortal, theoretically. Yeah. The tragedy is we die one day before immortality.
Brilliant. And on this note, I think we can call this a wrap, Suresh. It's been fantastic. I think this is the quote which we should remember. So I'm so happy that you could comment here and talk to us, and we look forward to several more visits before we all become immortal.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
So thank you so much, Suresh, and signing off from
thank
Biopeak Live, and look forward to another session with another interesting guest at the Biopeak Live studios. Thank you.